Good evening. Thanks again for being here, those of you that are here live. And if you're watching this recording, welcome to fall 2024. Those of you that are in this room are either in real estate principles or legal aspects of real estate. I figure we're kind of covering the material, might as well do it all together. And as you'll see when I move forward, the syllabus and the way that I structure my classes that I teach, although the content is different, right? These are two different courses. The structure and the layout are almost identical regarding the timelines and the due dates and no, again, not the content on the assignments, but the timing and how they're structured. And so I've found over the years, I feel like I've developed a system that works pretty well. I'm happy with it. I get positive feedback from how I have the class set up, and so I'm pretty consistent with that layout. So tonight, when we talk again, supplement principles, supplement legal aspects, excuse me. As I'm going through the content here, we're going to do some screen sharing. So I will show you some things in Canvas. I want to make sure that everybody in here is comfortable after this Zoom tonight. I have like three goals for us. I'm gonna give you a little bit of information about me, kind of where I'm coming from, kind of the emphasis and the purpose behind the IBC real estate program. We're going to talk about this class again, which either one class you're in. The expectations. I want to make sure that you are super aware of what is expected of you. And then three, how to do well in this class. If your goal is to get an A in here, I want you to be able to get an A in here. If you're working full time and taking care of the kids and taking care of your parents and then doing school full time, or you got some crazy schedule, maybe your goal is to just pass with a C. I want to help you do that. And I don't take it personal. So whatever your goal is, coming in, I want to support you and help you learn along the way here. So I'll first, before we start sharing screen, I'll just give you a little bit of information about me. My name is Rick Boone. It's nice to meet you. It's been great to see the experience coming through in the discussion board. I have been self-employed in some way or another since I was 18. And so the fact that I have like a full-time job and I get to teach for that job is like amazing and was never like a goal for me. But it's been amazing. And it's not only has it been great for me, but I feel like at IVC, the campus does such a great job supporting students. I'm grateful to be where I'm at. I was talking with a brother-in-law at a holiday dinner or something. He goes, "Hey, Rick, you got to listen to this book." This was, 20 years ago. It's called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he talks about passive income and how to, make money, using other people's money and all these big concepts, right? That he was blowing up with back in the day. And so I started reading it, and we started talking about investing in apartment buildings. And the next thing out of my brother-in-law's mouth was, "You need to go get your real estate license." And I was like, "I don't want a real estate license. What am I going to use that for?" And he said, "Well, I want you to learn how to do this and what's a good deal and how to analyze properties so that we know what is a good deal, so that we can buy and invest together." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I don't want to hold open houses. I don't want people in my car, that kind of thing. So I jumped in really not knowing what to expect. I worked full time in the industry for 9 years. I sold apartment buildings, anywhere from 2 to 50 units in Orange County. And then after a couple years into Long Beach too. So I got my license in 2002. So again, we're going back a couple decades here, but um, yeah, that's what we specialized in. I was able to invest myself. I've been able to buy and sell some real estate apartments and single families. I do have a rental right now still. I've made money. I've lost money over the years. I've made good, amazing money in commissions. I've barely survived living on commissions. And so I feel like I've experienced a lot of the ups and downs of the industry. And I also got to see some really creative ways to purchase property. And that's one of the things I really enjoyed about real estate was the problem solving part. Because there are any number of problems that you hit in a transaction, or if you want to buy yourself one day, it's never easy. There's always problems that arise. And I feel like the more you get to see, the more your encyclopedia of potential solutions grows. And so that's what I appreciate about the industry. And although I still have my license, I haven't represented anybody in, gosh, I don't know, a dozen years or so, outside of like myself. But um, yeah, so I don't necessarily like need my license anymore, right? Because I'm not actually, working with other clients, but I do keep it active to stay involved in the industry. I have had opportunities over the years to consult. My sister quasi real estate involved. Has worked for many years, working with commercial and retail spaces. To You might know of them as food halls today, but when those started in Orange County, kind of subdividing, if you will, these commercial areas and using them for retail and restaurant and that kind of thing. So I've been able, with her, to consult over the years in different ways. Um, I've done consulting more on the business perspective with some nonprofit organizations. Um, as I started teaching part time at nights while I was working full time in real estate, for me, that was a kind of an eye opening experience, and where I started realizing that I really found teaching more fulfilling than day in and day out sales. And what I'll express to you as you are venturing into this industry, or maybe just trying to get your feet wet and figuring it out, is find something that you enjoy doing. Because at the end of the day, and the lifers that I know that are still selling real estate from 20 plus years ago, there's something in there that they enjoy. And if you don't enjoy it and you're making $1 million a year, you're going to be miserable. And so we all need money, right? But very, very few people are actually self motivated by money alone, right? There has to be something in there that you enjoy. The encouragement I have for you is that there's not one way to do this industry. You might think of the model of selling single family homes, which, by the way, I got a D in my real estate principles class at Orange Coast College in the early 2000s, because my teacher told me that no, you're not going to make it selling apartments. You have to sell homes or you're going to fail. And I was like, well, no, I want to sell apartments. I even went out with him and I bought him a beer. I was like, hey, how am I going to do this apartment thing? He's like, no, sorry, you're going to fail. You got to sell homes. There's no one way to do this industry. And I've seen people, like, they give me an idea and I'm like, yeah, okay, possibly, but that sounds crazy. And sure enough, like, I've got a buddy who bought a two houses on a lot in Costa Mesa, not like, the beachside Costa Mesa, east side Costa Mesa, but or no, west side. Yeah, west side. Um, but he bought it for the loan is 0% interest. Like, he was able to buy down the rate to 0 on this crazy, and I'm like, "Dude, that's just not possible." And he did it. And I'm like, "Okay, I guess you could do it." Um, and it was not easy, right? But he was able to figure it out. Fast forward 20 years, he just bought a $2 million mansion in Orange County. Because he's able to, rent out the other houses and make money that way. And he's not like a self-made millionaire. He's just a, guy who's working hard, trying to figure it out with a family. So there's no one way to do this industry. However you plug in, whether it's residential, it's apartments, it's industrial, it's retail, it's commercial, it's leasing, it's property management. There are so many different ways to do this industry, and a lot of ways to make money in it. So long as it's legal, there's no set way to do it. So hopefully you find a little bit of encouragement in that. Because again, I mean, you watch a TV show and see how everybody's flipping. Well, that's pretty hard to do in Orange County. Not to say it's impossible, but it's hard to do. But maybe there's another way, you can make money, with the people you know and the opportunities you have. So, man, oh, somewhere in there, I decided to go back and get my to learn more about business, right? Because I was doing business every day in the office, but I didn't know what I was doing. I was surviving. And then for several years in there, I had a partner too, and so I was working together with another agent who was a lifer guy, who I learned a ton from. Um, and so I went back to school. I got a master's in business. And it was around that time when I decided, okay, I'm really liking this teaching education thing. I want to change gears. And I worked for a university for 4 years, left real estate full time at that point, and then earned a doctorate through that university. So I'm glad to be here at IVC. Yeah, it's awesome. After high school, I ended up at Long Beach City College because I didn't know what I want to do with my life. And had some of my best teachers there. So I hope that you leave this class or leave IVC at some point in the future, and you look back and you're like, "Oh man, that Rick Boone, he was the best teacher I ever had." Not because I have a, pat myself on the back, but I hope I'm that for you. I hope that this is a great learning experience. I hope that you leave feeling heard and helped, and supported as you learn this stuff. That's my job. That's why I'm here. Um, all right, so that's one thing off the list. There's kind of me and where I'm coming from. I've got 4 kids, 5 grandkids. I'm figuring out life. I'm busy too, just like you, right? So we're all in class. And as we start talking about the requirements of this class and what's expected of you, I built in a lot of flexibility here, but with boundaries. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start sharing a screen now. No questions in the chat yet. Awesome. I'll try to monitor those as we go through. I got all excited. I'm out of breath. All right, why can't I see that? Let me try one more time. Sorry for the delay. I'm sorry, my Zoom is not letting me see my Internet Explorer here, so sorry for the pause, the uncomfortable silence. There we go. Awesome. So what you'll see on screen here is Canvas. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed hearing some of the experience I've had. In Canvas, we have two learning systems that we're going to be using in these classes. Again, principles and legal aspects. These look almost identical. Again, the content is different, right? They're different courses, but what you're seeing is almost identical in both. We have Canvas that we're going to look at right now. We also have the virtual book, not a hard copy book, but the virtual book that's hosted on a website called Great River Learning, GRL. So I'm going to walk you through Canvas again, show you what's expected of you. You'll see that, oh, that's funny. You'll see that this menu on the left is super simple, and these bottom two are like a default thing. I didn't even put those there. So I literally have 4 buttons for you on the left. That doesn't make it easy. I've made it very simple on purpose here. So our home page is what we're looking at right now. You'll see a couple of the announcements, the most two recent announcements that pop up. If you didn't get those announcements, I'm assuming because you're here that you've gotten them. But if you didn't get them via email or text, one of the great things I love about Canvas is that under your account here, there's a button here called notifications. And in the notifications page, you can go through and actually do check boxes. If you want an email or you want a text, like when an announcement is made, do you want it immediately? Do you want it at the end of the day? Do you want it at the end of the week? When a grade is changed, do you want to see it immediately, end of day, end of week? Email or text, you get to control however you see this information. And so if you didn't get these automatically in your email or your text or whatever, go in there and check out that notifications tab. On this homepage, you'll also see a link here. This is, again, that virtual book, Great River Learning. The actual publisher who's paying the authors who wrote this book is called Dearborn. They do a ton of real estate books. And over the many years I've been teaching real estate, this is one of the companies, the publishers, that really do a professional job in their writing. I've seen a lot of books over the years, and I've had students go, "Oh, that book's kind of cheesy," but these Dearborn books, they're pretty quality. And I've also tried to find a way where it's less expensive for you in doing this. You'll also see here the syllabus. We will look at this tonight as well, but here's a link to the PDF syllabus. Here is a link to Zoom that you're on right now. I do have office hours on campus from 2 to 4 on Wednesdays. I'll be sitting there in my office if you want to come chat with me, or Thursdays from 10 to 1 on Zoom, like earlier today. So if you're open during these times, go ahead and hop on, use the link or hop on campus. If you can't make these times and you're like, yeah, Rick, sorry, can you talk on Monday at noon? That's when my lunch break is. Just send me an email. My email's right here. That's going to be likely the fastest way I'm going to respond to you or be able to respond to you. And if you have some time that's available that I can meet you at, I'm happy to do that. So please do email me with any questions or request, outside of these windows of time. Here on this homepage is also the course summary. This is a little overwhelming because not only are you seeing every date and due date and every assignment, like for the whole class, not just for like the first week, right? It's the whole class, are 8 weeks together. 8 weeks are going to go by really quick. Here's everything that you have to do. So if you like seeing information in this way, I mean, here it is for you. I've found that breaking this information up into weekly modules is a little bit more effective, efficient for you to track along. We'll look at those in just a second. So here's the home page. We're looking at it now. Here's the announcements page. You can go back and see all of the announcements that you've gotten so far. There will be a long list by the end of our 8 weeks. I will be sending out announcements at least Monday mornings of each week, right? So at minimum, you're going to get a weekly email from me. Again, I realize that you are busy and you're doing other things other than this class, right? So at most, I'll send that announcement out Monday morning. Maybe if something else comes up like midweek and I want you to know about it, like I'll send it out. Maybe rarely will I send you out 3 in a week. I'm not here to just pound information at you, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. But in these Monday announcements, I'm giving you exactly what you have to get done in the week. Just a fresh reminder, hey, you see it on the syllabus, you see it on Canvas, you see it in the modules. Here's a quick reminder in your email or text, however you want to get that, on what you got to do that week. Here's really the meat of the class in Canvas. Now we're online, right? So what I've done after years of teaching on ground two, I've tried to replicate. So you think about sitting in a classroom, you hear a lecture, maybe you watch a video or click on some links. You have some conversations with your other students in the class, maybe some small group discussions. You have discussions with the teacher. Maybe you work on a project in class or work in a small group in class on a project. I've tried to replicate that in the online environment so that as far as the content goes, what you're getting in an online class is still the same information you're going to get if you were on ground, but it has the benefit of flexibility for you. So you'll see I have a ton of links in here for you. I have created an orientation. And the purpose of this orientation is that I have students that will come into my class and maybe they're 17 in high school. Um, and maybe I'm the first real estate or the first real estate class and the first class they might have had at IBC. I also have, a student that has, lived in the United States for a couple years and they're from Japan or Iran and they're taking the first real estate class with me. And so, they're 60, 70 years old. So I have this vast range, which makes discussions really broad and just I've found that students enjoy the discussion board because you're learning in there. But here's an orientation that kind of puts everybody on the same playing field. A lot of these are short video links that I've made, making sure that when you come into this class that you're ready to go and you know what's going on. There is a short quiz after this orientation. It's 10 questions. All of these questions are questions that I came up with, and they're talking about these clips. You can take it as many times as you want, but you're going to get some points right off the bat for getting that done. So this is kind of what I call week 0, the orientation module right there. We are in week 1 of the class out of 8 weeks. So let's jump straight in. You'll see in this week 1, you're going to need to log into your virtual book, right? We're covering 2 chapters a week, except for in the last week. So if you don't get in there this week, next week you're already at, 4 chapters you got to cover. So do try to get in access. I've already gotten some emails saying I haven't been able to buy the book yet. I haven't got into the system. Some people are relying on the bookstore for the codes for this, which there can be a delay there. So if you're not into the GRL, the book yet, I'm not going to drop you or anything like that. I'm just voicing my slight concern that come next week you're going to have to catch up on 4 chapters right off the bat. What is timely is the discussion board this week. I do have a due date for tonight. It's Thursday for discussion board 1. It's an easy topic. I'm just asking you to kind of talk a little bit about yourself. Why are you here? What do you want to learn? What your goals are. Not hard. In addition to you kind of responding to this prompt, I'm also asking that by Sunday, you're responding to at least 2 other classmates in class, just like if we're sitting in a classroom and you're having a conversation. So, I do have a rubric that are on these. And although I'm looking more for quality than quantity, I do give you some guidelines on quantity, like, 3 to 4 sentences. If you say, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, hey, great. See you later. Like that's not a very in-depth conversation, right? So I want to encourage, discussion and sharing. A benefit to these discussions, and not just in week 1 where it's about yourself, but as we start getting into some of the content in these classes, is I'm asking you to form your own opinion. And so the discussion board, again, it's not meant to be hard. I'm asking you though to form your own opinion and to answer the question of why. Like, yes, I would do this because, right? And that's where I'm looking for that quality piece, that more kind of substance of your post, which helps you grab one of the concepts out of these weeks, and kind of figure them out a little bit for yourself. Discussion boards, initial response due Thursday. I will give you some grace this week in week 1. And then you're responding to 2 other classmates by the end of Sunday. You'll see on here I have a note that says chapters 1 and 2 quizzes complete in GRL. Now, these points you can see in the GRL system, but I will not put in these points until the end of the class. So if you're looking, remember we're in 2 systems, right? So if you're looking in Canvas, you will see all of your points from discussion boards and some exercises, which I'll explain in just a minute. But then in the GRL system, you're going to see all of your points from the chapter quizzes, and then also when it's time, the final exam. And then at the end of the class, I put all of those points together inside Canvas, so you can see that final grade and those final points in Canvas. So here's the weekly modules. Here's your task list each week. You can see this again in modules in Canvas. And then grades, again, you'll see the grades just as I explained. You'll see, again, week 2, we have 2 chapters, discussion board, really consistent. 2 chapter lectures, discussion board, chapter quizzes, and GRL. Really consistent as we go through. You'll see in week 3, I give you a couple weeks to get ramped up. You'll see in week 3, I give you an exercise. And so this is a different exercise depending on which class you're in. But this is, I explain what I call exercises is an opportunity for you to take one of the concepts that you're learning about and putting a real life spin on it. If you haven't gotten it from me, I haven't said it yet. I really want this stuff to be practical for you. Yeah, there's theory, and I explain, especially principles, is like here's all the foundations of real estate. And in some of these chapters, you're like, oh, there's a pebble in the foundation, right? Like you're learning about really in-depth kind of pieces about the industry and about how real estate works. These exercises are meant to be practical. Here's a concept. Here's what it looks like in the real world. So again, I give you a couple weeks to get ramped up before we jump into the exercises. And then you'll see as you go through the different modules. So I'm going to stop kind of this Canvas share, and I want to jump into the syllabus. I do see a chat question. The bookstore charges, oh, are you kidding? The bookstore charges $100? Man, they bumped that price up crazy. So I mentioned to you a little bit about the pricing. Let's look at that now. On the home page in Canvas, here's this link for GRL. One of the reasons I use GRL is because one, I've been able to kind of get this quality professional Dearborn content into this online environment because the publisher doesn't do it themselves. They still publish hard copy books. When you click on GRL, sorry, this is just my login stuff. When you click on GRL, it's going to take you to this page. My page looks a little bit different than yours. Sorry. But you'll see an opportunity for you to select here. You know what? Let me back out of this. I apologize. Let me close screen here just so you can get some eyes on what this looks like. Again, I want to make sure that you know what's expected of you. Here, if you did buy a code from the bookstore, here's your point to enter in that access code to purchase. If you're just going to buy it online, one of the reasons I've done this online thing, again, quality information, it's also flexible and it's cheaper than the hard copy books are. So between Canvas and between this GRL system, these 2 systems we're using, I've had students complete my whole class on their smartphone. Now, that might drive you crazy because you're having to zoom and scroll a lot. You can do it on tablet. You can do it on your computer, obviously, laptop, whatever device you have, you can get this class done in. GRL helps do that because it's very flexible in the way you're getting the information. So here you're typing Irvine Valley College. And then you'll see, okay, we're in principles right now or legal aspects, right? Click next, and then you can buy directly from them. Note the dates, right? This is our current section. And go next. So I do have some students that will be able to utilize, and then you're purchasing like you would purchase like any other website, right? Your personal information, your email address, password, all that stuff. And then, yeah, you'll see $56. There might be a little fee or something in there. So about under $60. I have had students come back and say, hey, I like this because I can, read it on my lunch break on my phone or whatever device you have. You can stop what you're reading, come back to it later. The quizzes are on there too. There's about a page of information, what a page looks like. There's these knowledge checks. So it's not like just reading from page to page to page to page through a whole chapter. It has some recap knowledge checks in there, but it's not till the end of that chapter that you do the chapter quiz that you're getting the points for, just so you're clear on that. You can take those quizzes over and over again to get the highest possible points. Um, can we save the online conference? Can we save the online content from GRL for future reference? You will have access to this content, I think it's 6 months. But what I'll share with you now is that if you are going to go and get your real estate license at some point in the future, this class, you can use it to qualify for that license. But I do not suggest, I repeat, I do not suggest you come back and study your principal's textbook. I do suggest you take a crash course through some sort of, well, I can't speak to other schools. We have a crash course at IVC. It's called RE 250 Exam Prep that will prepare you for the state exam. There are some other local proprietary schools or online schools that do similar things, but I can't speak to that quality. It's also really cheap at IVC. It's 1 unit. We offer it every semester at the end of the semester. So the cost for the class is like less than $50. And then I have you buy some questions that are pretty cheap too. So that's your book, right? Just so you could see it. If you have credit at the bookstore, like I have students that have programs on campus or some sort of maybe credit that they have to spend at the bookstore, I totally get you wanting to use that at the bookstore. If it's at all possible, please walk into the bookstore to buy that code with that credit. I do have students that will use the bookstore credit and then they click mail the code to me. And then literally the bookstore is putting a piece of paper in the mail to get to you. It takes 1 to 2 weeks. And then you get the piece of mail, you open it up, and there's a code printed on there that then you enter online. Super manual and very time consuming. If that's the only way you can get the information, then I'm not faulting it, right? Like, get it how you need to get it. But it will take a long time to get that, unfortunately. And it's more expensive, right? But if you have the credit, then it can make sense to you. So here's the syllabus. You saw I just clicked the link inside Canvas, so you can come back and refer to this document. I'm going to start on the last page. Sorry for the scrolling. You saw how in Canvas it showed every single assignment for every week and every due date, kind of all in line there. This is a little bit more summary, and it just gives you an overview of the chapters and the weeks, kind of like a 1-page overview. So you'll see, again, we're covering about 2 chapters each week. I also have notes in here, again, chapter quiz, discussion board, chapter quiz, discussion board, chapter quiz, discussion board. Oh, there's that exercise 1 in week 3. And I kind of spread those out. Here's exercise 2 in week 5, exercise 3 in week 7. So I spread them out for you. I also open those up. Usually there's a 2-week window for you to get those exercises done, just to, if you need help managing time. Busy week at work, you're going to go out of town, whatever it is. Exercise 4, final exam at the end. The final exam is timed. That's required of us by the Department of Real Estate. It's 100 questions. Sorry. The real estate exam at the state is 150 questions. I think our exam is 100 questions. Multiple choice. Again, if you're using your laptop or tablet or phone, right, you can use that to take the final exam and all these quizzes on that GRL system. Here's an overview of the points. I've mentioned teaching these classes for several years, so I feel like I've created a system that gives you flexibility and gives you a lot of control in your grade, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the points here. So we talked about a little bit about me, kind of where I'm coming from. The goal of these classes, also for the program, is just to be super practical to help build you up and help you learn about real estate. Here's how, if you want to get an A in this class, this is how you're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to give you exactly what to do to get your A. Real quick, chat box, is the exam timed? Yes, it is. The exact time, number of questions, we'll be getting to that. I actually have a brief overview actually on screen right now. The chapter quizzes in GRL. After you get into GRL, there's a menu up on the top left that will allow you to go into individual chapters. And so after you learn that navigation, it's really easy to figure out. Once you get in there, you'll figure it out pretty quick. So you're reading sections of a chapter, and then you're doing a knowledge check. Another section of the chapter, knowledge check. Another section, knowledge check. When you get to the end of that chapter, you'll see chapter quiz. That's your one for points I'll be giving you points for at the end of this class. Again, you have multiple attempts. You can do them as many times as you want to get the highest points. Great transition. Here are the points that you can get. So if you go in though and if you go into GRL and do the chapter quizzes as many times as it takes you to get 10 out of 10 points, that's 33% of your grade right there. That's a huge chunk. Totally up to you, right? If you want to get an A in the classes, is an easy way. It'll take time, but this is an easy way for you to get a pretty big chunk of points. The discussion boards, again, takes a little bit of time, but I'm only asking for your opinion. And I'm asking you to support your opinion in a discussion board. We do these for one a week for 7 weeks. You get 5 points for your initial post. You get 5 points for your responses. As we start looking at those discussion boards, I have in there a rubric to give you, again, a guideline, about 3 to 4 sentences per post. That's 70 points, about 15% of the grade. Those exercises we saw, those are sprinkled throughout the class. 20 points each. These are not meant to be difficult, okay? Not meant to be difficult. When you start looking at them, when they come online, when they're, coming due, you'll see that I'm taking a concept out of the chapter out of that week. And I'm giving you step-by-step directions on what to do. They are not meant to be hard. Again, they'll take some time. We're in a college class here, right? It'll take some time. But the whole point is for you to get involved a little bit of that real world practical perspective of what we're learning out of a book. 20 points each, 17% of your grade. Here's the big kind of maybe, right? So I give you 150 points. It is 100 questions though. In this 150 points, look how these points are laid out, right? I have students that, maybe you have test anxiety, maybe you're not a great test taker, but you are working hard, right? Here's a little hint. In business, if you show up and get your job done every day, chances are you're going to be okay, right? So if you show up, you get your work done, and you earn all of these points for the class, you're already at, like, without any final, you're already at like a D, right? So you don't have to get an A on this final to get an A in the class. Now, if you are missing weeks and you're not doing all the chapters and you're getting 5s on the chapters, and then you come back and get, a 60% on the final exam, like, you're not going to get an A in the class, right? But all of this is your work. This is not me like being nice. This is not me liking you, right? I'm not giving you a grade here. You're earning your grade, and this is how you do it. So that final exam, I will give you some tips on studying when we get closer to it. It is a generated multiple choice exam. I personally don't love multiple choice exams. I am one of those people, and I'm sure some of you will relate to this, where I read a question and I'm like, oh, I think it's B, but it could be C too, right? The reason I have structured this and I've kept it like this, one, there's some requirements by the DRE. But two, there's actually purpose behind this, because if your goal is to get your real estate license, you're going to have to sit in front of a computer screen at the Department of Real Estate, and you're going to have to take a multiple choice question exam, 150 questions in, 3 hours, right? So, like, hopefully I'm slowly preparing you for that experience in these, baby steps of these classes. So there is some purpose behind it being, a multiple choice exam, just a multiple choice exam. I will say, and there's some description here about what the final is. Again, it's 100 questions. I ask that you pass with a 60%. Now you can see that you can earn a lot of points week by week in this class. But if you're scoring less than 60 on that final, like, we want you to get over that. If you score less than 60% on your final, you will actually have another chance on a separate, different final exam. If you score less than 60, if you score a 60%, you're good and your points are what you get, right? But less than 60, you have a second option. Again, I want to reiterate here, it's a separate final exam. The Department of Real Estate requires that we have two separate versions of the final. So you can't take the final, memorize all the answers or something, right? And then take it again and then get an A or something. The DRE also does not allow us to share the answers. So I can't even tell you, what are the right answers on the questions, because the DRE doesn't want people to start like creating test banks of potential type questions. Even though this exam is different from the Department of Real Estate salesperson exam. So that's a brief overview of the points. And again, if your goal is to get an A here, you're really going to be focusing in on this weekly work, right? Again, it's not meant to be hard. It will take some time. I'll make a note just real quick. Here's a little a point that I like to make. I'll have students that will come in. They're like, "Hey, Rick, I'm just here to learn about real estate. I don't care about my GPA. I'm not an IVC student transferring for a bachelor's degree or anything. I'm just going to select pass, no pass." You have the right to do that. It's a whole college function that's removed from me. That's all in your control. But I do not suggest you do that. I only see it hurt students. Usually, when people select pass, no pass, they're like pass, no pass, and then they work their butts off and they like earn an A. But then I have to click pass because that's the option that you select at the end of the class. Here's the reason why. Pass, no pass. If you get a D, I have to select no pass because that's an IVC policy, grading policy, right? However, I mentioned to you earlier that I got a D in my principal's class. The Department of Real Estate will accept a D, right? So if you earn a D in this class and I give you a letter grade of D, maybe that doesn't look great on your transcripts as far as your GPA is concerned. But if you don't care about your GPA anyway, it doesn't matter. The DRE can take your D. Maybe you don't plan on getting a D. I'm sure most of you probably don't plan on getting a D. But again, I would suggest personally, Rick Boone, don't select pass, no pass. Quizzes. I write in here that you must receive a minimum of 80% on every quiz. I was using a previous system where it actually had a block where you had to score an 80 to go on to the next chapter. I've removed any of those blocks because I found that students might get hung up and then stop progressing because they might get hung up on chapter 6 and then they don't finish. I don't want to create barriers for you. So I say you must receive a minimum of 80. But at the end of the day, if you don't get an 80, again, you're earning your points here. So if you don't get an 80, it's less likely that you're going to pass, but I'm not going to block you. I've already explained exercises. I don't want to be too repetitive, and discussion boards. I do have in here late work will not be accepted. I kind of become my intention is not to be mean here. But I'm giving you a lot of flexibility. Like within 7 days, you have to get a discussion board done. Like that's not a huge expectation. The GRL reading, again, I'm not creating barriers there. So you will not be shut out of your reading and your chapter quizzes, and you can take those quizzes over and over again. So when I say late work will not be accepted, specifically discussion boards, because the whole class is in there having a discussion together in a room. And if Monday comes, right, and that discussion board closes down and you're like, "Oh, I missed it. Can I get in there and do that discussion board?" You're going to be sitting in a room talking to yourself. Nobody else is going to be in there reading the stuff. So the discussion boards have a very strict deadline on those because we're all in there together. The exercises, I mean, if you're like in the hospital and you're like, "Hey, Rick, I couldn't get that done because I'm, sitting in the ER or something," like send me I don't want your like health information, but send me a letter from a doctor or something. I'm not like unreasonable, but I've found that students, particularly at the end of the class, and you're like, "Hey, I didn't do 3 weeks of work. Can I, make up that stuff?" And then your whole mindset is like making up the last 3 weeks, and then you fail the final exam because you're not preparing for it because you're focused on the past. So I want to make sure that we're sticking to these deadlines. Again, in GRL, you have some flexibility there. But again, I'm giving you, at least a week on these assignments. On the exercises, like a 2 week window to get them done. So they're, welcome to college. You get to be adults. This letter grades are IVC policy. And so you'll see there's letter grades. We do not do pluses and minuses on the final grades. It's just A, B, C, D. So you can see the percentages here. This is calculated in Canvas by the work that you accomplish, right? Again, this is not me giving you, hey, Rick, can you give me an A? Like, I don't give people A's. You can earn an A, and that's done by your assignments, and this is how those calculate out. Oh, there's a question. Sorry, just catching up on the chat. How much time is allowed on the final exam? You probably saw it in the description there. So what I did, the DRE gives you 150 questions, and it's like 3 hours and 15 minutes or 3.5 hours, something. What I did, since our final exam in these classes are 100 questions, I calculated the same minutes per question, if that makes sense, that the DRE does. Again, my hope in this final exam isn't just about a recap of the content that you're learning for these classes, but it's to slowly start preparing you for that state exam. Grading, some of this is just, kind of boilerplate stuff, but if I have to update something in the syllabus, I've never updated the syllabus and have it hurt you. So it's kind of a blanket thing. Like, I might have to adjust things, but not likely. Um, this is a fully online class. I talk a little bit about grading policy in here, right? This is all designed for you to do your own work. There's some links in here with like no cheating and AI. That's a big thing right now. Um, because the discussion boards are asking about your opinion, I mean, you could probably try to AI it, uh, but I'm asking you to support your opinion about something. And so, from what I've seen of AI and some type of copy paste answers of different assignments and stuff, it's hard to really like take ownership of that when you're typing it, or you're going to spend more time trying to alter an AI response than to just figure it out on your own. So I'm hoping that you all are going to be honest and doing your own work, right? This is all about you learning. So I'm hoping you're committed to do that. If you need support, I think this office might have just changed names, but we have a lot of supports I mentioned at IVC for students. If you have any challenges with your learning, um, here's some contact information for you. I hope you're uh, willing to come and chat with me. Let me know about what challenges you're having. But if you don't, like, I don't take that personal. There's a lot of support. Check the IVC website, and then here's some direct links. If you're having any issue with like internet connectivity or technology, like the campus has hotspots that you can borrow for the semester or laptops that you can borrow, I think still. Um, if you like don't have dinner and you like are hungry and you need food, like there's a food pantry on campus. You can go pick up a meal and pick up vouchers and stuff. There's snacks on campus you can grab anytime. They even have for kind of more emergency stuff, not like long term, but like housing vouchers if you like don't have somewhere to sleep tonight. So all is to say, the campus, I feel like we have an amazing campus, amazing support staff. I love being able to teach here. So hopefully that can all help you and support you in your learning. And if you need help, you know, please let us know, me or any of these offices. Again, to reiterate, we have these two systems that we're using for the class, these classes. One, Canvas, we've just seen what that looked like. And the second one, the GRL, again, the link is here. And we saw that as well. They do have their own support. So if you're having issues, occasionally I'll have a student that will say, "Hey, Rick, I can't access the book. It looks like the site is down." Well, thanks for letting me know, but I can't do anything about that. Um, it's a publisher website. Like, please let them know. They do have a email first support. If that's not resolved like within a day, I'll be surprised, but let me know and I can kind of step up and get more additional help if you need it. But they're usually pretty good with their tech support. And then also tech support at IVC if you're having issue with Canvas stuff. Keep scrolling up. Some general links. Participation, don't cheat, academic honesty. We've talked about what you need for the class. There's just more links and language about that. If you haven't realized this, or this is like one of your first college classes, the syllabus is kind of like a contract. So we have to cover certain basis. Like, here's the information that I need you to have, and here's links available to you to use. And so some of it gets a little wordy, right? But we've seen the schedule, and again, the links are in here. So hopefully this is helpful for you too. Because you're an IVC student, here's more resources available to you with different online technology, Office 365, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, if you need those for whatever you need them for. Likely in this class, maybe Word, but like I said, I have students that will complete all their stuff on their phones. So you can type directly into Canvas too if you're submitting assignments that way. I have found though, Canvas is okay with Word and PDF, but like usually like Google Docs or maybe Office 365, like if you're sending me a link, oftentimes I can't use those or I can't see them. Or especially if you're using a Mac, I cannot see those files in Canvas. It has to be like a doc or a PDF file. But all those systems you can convert. So we'll figure that out if, after the first week. Sorry, I can't see this. We'll figure it out. Drop policy. This is one I'll talk about. This is a little bit on me in my kind of purpose behind how I do things. I will not drop you after this week. I will not drop you if you're here. I have to drop no shows in the first week, like by law. If you're not in class, you don't show up. I have to drop you. But after this first week, if you're still in this class, I will not drop you. After I graduated my bachelor's, I'm working full time. I'm newly married. I'm like, I want to go learn some welding. And so I signed up at Orange Coast College to take a welding class. And there I am, week 2, week 3 go by. I'm, sticking metal to metal. It was interesting to learn something new. And then work got busy and life got busy and I stopped showing up. And in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I'm not showing up. The teacher will eventually drop me, right? I went to apply for my master's in business, and sure enough, there's an F in welding. And the business school at Cal State Fullerton was like, we don't like students that come in with Fs. This is hurting your GPA too much. Well, the teacher was supposed to drop me. I will not drop you. If you are going to stop showing up and stop doing all of your work, and your name is on my roster at the end of this class, I have to give you a grade and I'm going to use the points that you earned for that grade. All right. So if you're going to just completely bail and you just can't do the work right now, again, I don't take it personal. Do what you got to do. But you have to drop yourself. On the flip side of that, I've had students come back halfway through the class and it's like, oh my gosh, I was in a coma. I've actually had that happen and I had the documentation to show it. I was in a coma uh, in the hospital, like, "Can I finish the class?" Let's talk about it. Now in week 8, you're like, "Hey, I was missing for 5 weeks. Can I pass the class?" And that's a little late, right? But if we're in the middle of the class, I can try to guide you or give you some insight on how best to accomplish the rest of the points. Here's some information on week 1. Again, we're in real estate principles or legal aspects. Link to Canvas. Here's our dates. Those drop dates, like that's tomorrow, right? To get your money back. Confirm these dates on my site, but they're here for reference for you. Here's my phone number. I will get voicemails into my email. But if you don't mind, type, and I'm happy to get back in touch with you, right? I'll respond to you somehow. But emails, like I said, emails probably gonna be the fastest way to get a response from me. Years and years of being self-employed, I'm on my phone, pretty regularly. I'll reply back pretty quick. Here's my office. Again, you're welcome to come visit me on campus on those office hours on Wednesday, 2 to 4, or Thursdays in Zoom. Again, by appointment. If you have some other time that you need to meet me, I'm happy to try to do that with you. We're coming down to our last 7 minutes. Now, without unmuting yourself and talking, because again, we have those rules. Any other questions on chat? And then in a couple minutes, I'll stop the recording and then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about with no witnesses. No chats coming. I'll wait for another minute. There we go. I know sometimes it takes a little minute to type. Just to make sure, are both quizzes due at the end of the week? So again, it's kind of a soft deadline on GRL. I have them scheduled in Canvas due at the end of the week. If you can get them done by the end of the week, that's going to really help you out because they're chapters of a book, right? And come next week, chapters 3 and 4 are going to be due. And so do try to get them done in that timing. If you get behind a week, 2 weeks, it becomes much more difficult to get caught up. So if you can try to stick to the GRL timing on the assignments in Canvas, do try to get the reading done that week, the chapter quiz done that week. Remember though, you can take those chapter quizzes over and over again. So even if you get through and read it, and then maybe you get a 5 or a 6 on that quiz, you're like, no, I really want an A. You can come back and do it again later to get the most points out of those. Could you show us how to access the quiz? I did show you how to access GRL. I am going to have to ask them about kind of getting a student view, because what I pull up on screen is going to be, oh, you know what? Here, let me try this real quick. I want to do everything I can to try to help you out. So let me see if I can get back into GRL real fast in our few remaining minutes because I really want to respect your time. But it's a good question. So here we are coming back to Canvas homepage. Here's the link to GRL. You're going to either use your access code or purchase here. After you purchase, you're going to log in here again, just like pretty much any other website, right? Again, it's going to look a little bit different for me, but the actual chapter thing might look, that's right now. Yeah. Will look at pretty similar. So when you log in and after you get access, here's what you're seeing. There's a forward, right? Here's next. I'm glad we're doing this actually. Thanks for that question. Here's that little navigation I mentioned. So here you can actually choose what chapter you want to go to, right? And then the final exam at the end. You can select it that way. When you're going into the chapters and you start off in chapter 1, when you log back in, you're supposed to kind of jump back in where you left off, right? Learning objectives, key terms. As you start reading, I'm scrolling a little fast, sorry. Here's your reading. You'll see at the bottom of this little section, knowledge check. Begin your attempt. This is not graded. Look, knowledge checks are not included in your final grade. This is meant to help you. Please use it, but you don't have to use it. You're not getting points for it. So you can skip it. But hopefully it's purposeful. It's helpful for you. Here's our next page. Bunch of information. Knowledge check. See that? So as you continue to go through, there's links over on the left if you want to dig in and do more stuff. Here's definitions. So here we are, chapter 1, page 3 is kind of where we're at. Here's our little what do they call it? Carrots or your breadcrumbs showing your path where you're at. So here's chapter 1. You'll see it here. It pops up. Chapter 1, page 9. So there's 9 pages in chapter 1. Here is the quiz summary. Chapter 1, chapter quiz. Unit quizzes are included in your final grade. Begin your attempt, right? So this one is for your points. Multiple choice. You get multiple attempts. Hopefully that clarifies it for you. Thanks for that question. Are all the assignments included in GRL assignments listed in Canvas? In Canvas, I have the dates and the chapters listed, but just as a reminder, the points do not come into Canvas automatically right now. I'm going to put those in at the end of the class, but I just closed the window. All right, it's still open. Oh, I don't know if, so I can't pull it up. In GRL, you'll see in your links at the top, you'll see gradebook. If I click gradebook, I'm actually going to see all of your names, right? So that's not going to be helpful for you. But when you click on gradebook in your GRL, your chapter quiz points will show you there. So you'll see them, your chapter quizzes in GRL. I will take all of those and put them into Canvas at the end of the class. So are all the assignments included in GRL assignments listed in Canvas? So all of the GRL stuff is also listed in Canvas as a date, as a reminder for you. But there are also assignments just in Canvas that you will not find in GRL, your discussion board, and the exercises. After we complete this course and take the exam, we still need to take the RE exam to get the RE license. So yeah, thank you for asking about that. I didn't talk about license requirements. The Department of Real Estate requires you to take real estate principles, real estate practice, and an elective, those 3 classes to sit for the salesperson's exam. That elective can be any of the real estate classes we offer at IBC. It can also be any number of classes potentially in business, like macro, microeconomics, maybe accounting, business law. There's actually several different electives that you can take for that 3rd class. So if you're a business student or if you have any business college work in the past, either bachelor's or master's, something like that, you might be able to use one of those as your elective 3rd class, but you will have to take principles, practice in addition to the elective to be able to sit for the salesperson exam. I see the knowledge quizzes, the knowledge checks after each section, but no chapter quiz. Again, I just walked through that, so hopefully that clarified that question already. Looks like the quizzes are just at the end of each chapter. That's correct. The chapter quizzes, 1 quiz at the end of each chapter. Last page of each chapter. Oh, and I appreciate that. So you're answering the question before you. Perfect. If there's questions, again, remaining, after I stop recording, we can have a conversation and figure it out. Are we going to have these types of Zoom meetings often? So, pros and cons, right? We're in a fully online class, an asynchronous class. I actually, because it's published that way, I cannot require you to be in a meeting at any specific day or time. It's meant to be fully flexible for you. That's why you'll see in the modules, a lot of links to lectures. Those lectures are me talking. And I also do a lot of like screen sharing and I take notes on the screen. And in those lectures, I try to pull out practical knowledge. These chapters have a lot of foundational, I already said it, pebbles in the foundation sometimes, really like in depth. So I try to take a step back and pull out some of those concepts and talk about it a little bit more real life. And also then take notes to show you kind of different concepts and how they compare to each other. So you'll see video lectures that I'm doing in those classes in the modules. So there are occasionally other Zoom meetings that I might do. Sometimes I'll update those lectures, and so if I'm able to do that this semester, if I need to do that this semester, I'll put out the invite. Hey, by the way, I'm doing a lecture tonight on chapter 7. If you're able to make it, come make it. But we will not have regularly scheduled Zoom classes just because that's not how the class was structured in the schedule. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, and so there's no set day, no set time, no promised additional live Zoom sessions, if that wasn't clear. Awesome. You're very welcome. I'm glad you're feeling like you got resources and you got prepared for the class. So hopefully you have a good picture of what the class looks like, what's expected of you, and again, whatever your goals are. If your goal is to get an A, I hope it's clear how you can do that now after seeing what you saw tonight. Since we're out of time, I want to respect your time. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording, and then if you have additional questions, feel free to hang out. I'll hang out for a few more minutes. Thank you again for being here. Those of you that are here live, it's great turnout. Appreciate it. Have a good night.